Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here with us today. We have a truly fantastic explainer lined up for you, completely inspired by the incredible foundational material from the Learn Daily AI YouTube channel. Seriously, if you haven't checked them out, you absolutely should. Today, we're bringing you a professional masterclass on artificial intelligence. We're going to strip away the heavy jargon, look past all those dramatic sci-fi movie tropes, and go way beyond the buzzwords you hear every day. We're going to break down exactly what this technology is, how it actually functions under the hood, and the profound ways it is already rewiring our society. Get ready, because this is going to be an incredibly illuminating ride. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our syllabus for today's explainer. We'll be hitting defining artificial intelligence, how AI actually works, AI in daily life, algorithmic bias and ethics, the social credit system, and finally, the future of AI. But before we get into the mechanics of all this, I want you to consider this question. Does a machine truly have free will, or does it merely simulate it? Throughout this explainer today, I want you to think of AI like a mirror. It really isn't some alien consciousness. It's a reflection of our own human minds, our logic, and, as we'll see pretty soon, our flaws. So keep that mirror metaphor right in your back pocket as we go. All right, let's kick things off with Module 1, Defining Artificial Intelligence. When we hear artificial intelligence, it's super easy to picture a robot with a glowing, pulsating brain, right? But at its core, AI is really about rational agents. These are simply systems designed to perceive their environment and take actions with some degree of autonomy to achieve a very specific goal. We aren't talking about creating actual life here. We're talking about teaching computers to simulate human intelligence processes, things like learning, reasoning, and problem solving, but doing it way faster and on a massive scale. It's goal-oriented math, not magic. So how do we actually measure that intelligence? Well, enter the Turing test. Conceived by Alan Turing way back in 1950, which is wild because that's long before modern computers even existed, this test set the stage for AI as an imitation game. The idea was actually pretty simple. If a human interacting with a machine literally can't tell it apart from another human, the machine is deemed intelligent. But here's the absolutely critical takeaway. While passing the Turing test is a huge milestone, it's a necessary but insufficient condition for true intelligence. Just because a system can mimic human conversation perfectly doesn't mean it actually understands a word of it. And that brings us perfectly to our next module, Section 2, How AI Actually Works. Let's look under the hood. The evolution of AI has basically moved across 3 distinct waves. Notice how we start back in the 1950s with the first wave, which was known as Symbolic AI. These were expert systems where humans painstakingly coded strict, step-by-step rules for the computer to follow. It was, good old-fashioned AI. But then, we hit the 2000s, the second wave. And suddenly, everything changed with machine learning and data-driven neural networks. And looking ahead, we have the speculative third wave, artificial general intelligence. That's where a system might exhibit intelligence across any broad context, which is something current technology simply cannot do yet. Let's zoom in on that second wave for a second, because that is the AI boom we are living in right now. Machine learning. Second-generation AI works by finding its own solutions. So the crucial point is this. Instead of a human expert sitting there writing every single rule, we just feed the algorithm massive amounts of data. We automate the learning process itself. The machine looks at all that data, finds the patterns, and actually builds its own internal logic. Moving on to Section 3, AI in daily life. Let's look at how this functions in our real world. You probably instantly recognize tools like ChatGPT. Generative AI is literally everywhere now, increasingly used for personal tasks and, yes, even school projects. But this raises a really fascinating ethical question. How is using an AI for homework actually different from asking a real human, like a parent or an older sibling, for help? As these tools become totally integrated into education and work, we have to figure out how to establish trust between students, teachers, and professionals in a world where machines can just instantly generate human-like answers. And hey, it's not just text generators. Consider these seamless daily integrations. Your personalized social media feeds, those are driven by algorithms learning your preferences every second. When you message customer support, you're usually speaking to a chatbot using natural language processing. Voice assistants in your kitchen use speech recognition, and smart devices use object detection to understand exactly what's around them. These aren't general, all-knowing brains. They are narrow AI systems fundamentally reshaping our daily experiences by reasoning and solving highly specific problems at an incredible scale. But of course, this intense reliance on data brings us to a much more complicated reality. Section 4, Algorithmic Bias and Ethics. Remember that mirror metaphor I mentioned at the very beginning? This is where it matters most. Because machine learning systems are trained on massive, massive amounts of human data, they learn our structural biases. The algorithm doesn't inherently know right from wrong, it just knows patterns. So if our historical data contains prejudice or inequality, the AI reflects that right back at us. And honestly, it often finds novel, highly efficient ways of discriminating based entirely on that flawed data. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens when that goes wrong. Take Microsoft's Tay chatbot. It was designed to learn from Twitter conversations. Well, within just 24 hours, it learned to speak like an angry, racist misogynist because it absorbed the sheer toxicity of the humans interacting with it. Then there's voice and face recognition. These algorithms consistently work best for white men and fail non-white or non-male users simply because the training data was imbalanced to begin with. Or consider smart physical office sensors. There are cases where they actually turn off the lights on disabled workers because they don't move enough to meet the programmer's extremely narrow parameter for what constitutes human movement. These aren't just little computer glitches. They are societal biases automated by AI. Which brings us to Section 5, the social credit system. This is perhaps the highest stakes application of AI data integration today. We are going to look at China's system strictly neutrally today, really just as a fascinating case study of AI data gathering out in the wild. Their social credit system expands the standard idea of a financial credit check to essentially the whole shebang, all aspects of a citizen's life. Basically, each citizen is assigned a base of 1,000 points. Through pervasive data collection and AI monitoring, their behavior is constantly judged and rated, which turns daily life into a deeply monitored point system. Let's break down exactly how this behavioral data is categorized. On the reward side, citizens can gain points for actions like donating blood, engaging in charity work, praising the government on social media, or helping the poor. Conversely, punishments, which actually lose you points, are issued for things like cheating in online games, giving insincere apologies for crimes, spreading internet rumors, or even failing to visit your aging parents regularly. Impartially speaking, it's just an unprecedented example of how artificial intelligence can be deployed to systematically quantify and enforce behavioral parameters across a massive, massive population. So where does all of this leave us? Let's move to our final section, Section 6, the future of AI. The European Parliament recently summarized this perfectly, stating artificial intelligence is probably the defining technology of the last decade and perhaps also the next. That really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? As AI continues its rapid evolution, moving deeper into our healthcare, our schools, and our homes, we have a shared ethical responsibility here, ensuring the transparency of these systems, making sure they are safe, and actually aligning them with our highest social values rather than our worst structural biases. That is absolutely the great challenge of our time. Which leads me to this one final, pretty provocative thought to leave you with today. We've spent all this time talking about how we feed data into machines to teach them how to act. But looking at how these algorithms already curate our news, shape our decisions, and even dictate our behavior. Are we training AI, or is AI ultimately going to train us? Thank you so much for joining me for this masterclass on The Explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.